We have next up here with us Paul Rieckhoff, who's here with me at the desk in New York, the national security analyst, Army veteran, host of the Independent Americans podcast. Good to see you as always, Paul. I want to pick up on that point and how the president is walking this line and handling the war, in your view?
You know, I think he's trying to walk a very tight political line here in the U.S. I think that second line of the tweet is kind of a hat tip to the left wing of the party that continues to increase the pressure on him. We're seeing some folks, in the Democratic Party faltering on their support for Israel, asking questions that haven't been asked before. And I think it's an election year.
Right.
And the president's trying to make a lot of different people happy when a time of war can be very difficult.
I mean, it's hurting him in the polls. I mean, we have a Gallup poll we can put up on the screen asking people whether they approve of the president's handling of the situation in the Middle East. Only 32% approve, 64% disapprove. We talked a lot about how it's his own party, it's young people in his own party that he's losing on this issue. What would you say about that or to those people?
I think we need him to be strong in a time of war, and I think that there's no winning in the Middle East. I mean, right. I think you're going to end up ticking off a couple of different sides or multiple groups, no matter what position you take. The question is, can he maintain American national security most of all, and then support our allies and try to maintain the leadership role that America has in the world? And some of the younger generation is not going to respond to that, especially within his own party. There's a radical left that continues to gain momentum. They're going to be out in the streets right outside this building tonight, and I think it's a mistake for him to lean to that side, especially if he wants to appeal to independents like me, the 49% of the country that's unaffiliated and independent. Many of them are veterans, national security connected, and I think that's going to hurt him and the party long term.
You're alluding to protests we expect. We don't know how they'll come together in Midtown Manhattan related to the lighting of the Christmas tree over at Rockefeller Center, which is to our west. We'll see, how that goes. But I was just saying, to the congressman, we've seen a lot of these protests in this country. I want to talk about the news of the day overseas as well today. As we see at the bottom of the screen, we're seeing the mediators are looking to extend the truce. It's 10:12 p.m. now in Israel. Your thoughts on whether an extension is warranted, the effect that has on the Israeli war effort? Benjamin Netanyahu was clear today that once this truce is over, he's getting back at it.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get more hostages out, it's worth it. I think we've seen a dribble of hostages out over the last couple of days. It's been encouraging.
Not American hostages, by the way.
Correct. I mean, the Thai hostages and Israeli hostages, there are still Americans that haven't been released, which I think is very critical. And I hope that and I know that the Biden administration is going to be putting pressure on Netanyahu to create space for the potential for those hostages to be released. Once that's over, Netanyahu's made it clear he's going to bring the hammer down.
Big time.
And that's going to be a constant toggling. They're going to put pressure on Hamas. They're going to hit them hard and then probably create space for hostages to be released. And that's their leverage right now, the ability to put pain on Hamas and on the military structure in particular.
Speaking of leverage, the fact that Americans are not, there was the one young American, the two that came out before the truce, but the fact that Americans have not been on this recent list, is that Hamas thinking it has leverage? What do you think's going on there? I think
they probably recognize that the American hostages may have more value. I mean, Hamas wants to draw America and Israel into a quagmire. They want to drag them deeper and deeper into a prolonged conflict. They want to pull in Hezbollah. They want to pull in Iran. And anything they can do to pull on those strings is what they're going to take advantage of. But I think we have to remember that the president's obligation is to protect Americans at all costs. He's got to keep them front and center. We've got to keep reminding the world that there are Americans there. We have to do everything possible to bring them home.
Maybe we'll see one on the next list, one American that is. We'll see. Paul, if you stick with us today, we have a few other topics to address here as we continue. We have a lot